there are lots of food in Taiwan that are hard to describe, and you can't find them in other countries. And so when you meet someone from another culture or from another country, you want to be able to describe the foods that you like. Because food is a big part of language, it's a big part of culture. And so today we're going to talk about how can you teach people about Taiwanese food, or maybe just introduce food to people. This could be if you're telling someone about Taiwanese food, or if you bring someone to a night market someday, or show them pictures, you can describe it to them, and then maybe your friend can learn what it is and give it a taste, right? So today we're going to take a look at a few different things and a few different ways to talk about food and also talk about anything. Let's get started and take a look at Kyle's little presentation. So today we're going to be looking at how to talk about night market foods. Okay, so this is Rauhe Night Market, a place that I like. And there are many different night markets in Taiwan, and many different places have their own special kinds of food. So if someone asks you a question, maybe they ask you, "Excuse me, what are you eating?" Or maybe you're bringing your friend and they say, "What is that?" We want to be able to describe different foods and tell about different things that are in the night market, right? And so, yeah, we can answer these two questions. What are you eating and what is that? And how do we answer these questions? Well, anything you see, I want you to follow 3 steps. And the 3 steps are, first, give it a name. Tell the name of that thing. Maybe you know the English name. Maybe you don't. If you don't know the English name, what do? Do you say, "I don't know"? Of course you know what it is. If you don't know the name in English, you can just say the name in Chinese, and that's totally fine. There are foods from around the world, and you don't need to translate the names. If you're eating Italian noodles, do you say Italian noodles? In English, no. We use the original Italian word. We say pasta. If you have a food from Taiwan, do you need to change it to English? No. You can use the Chinese word or the Taiwanese word and then just tell more about it. So first up, you want to give a name for that thing. The second thing you want to do, you want to describe it. If you just say, "Oh, that's jian," if you say that to my dad, who doesn't speak Chinese, he's going to be very confused, right? He's going to be like, okay, that doesn't help. Or if I tell you, "Oh, this food is fettuccine," you go, "I don't know what that is." Just saying the name doesn't help. So we need number 2, describe it. So we give something a name, and then you describe it. You tell what it is. And then 3, you add details. Saying what something is step 1, but adding some more details always makes it more interesting. Okay? So we're going to go through some examples of foods in Taiwan that are popular at a night market. And yeah, we're going to practice these 3 steps. Okay? Give it a name, describe it, add details. And after we talk about some Taiwanese food, we'll look at some food from other countries. You don't need to translate everything. You can just use English to describe stuff. Let's get started. Sorry. Let's get started with the steps we can, some phrases we can use. First, give it a name, right? If you want to give it a name, what do? If someone says, "What's that?" Don't just say, "jian." You want a full sentence. You want to say, "It's called jian," or blah, blah, blah. Or if you're eating something or you're holding something, someone asks you, you can say, "This is called blah, blah, blah." So it's called is general. It's called pasta. But if you have it or you bought it, you can say, oh, this is called blah, blah, blah. This is called pasta. Okay? And then next was describe it. What are some phrases we can use? Well, oops, I forgot a space. It's blank. You can put an adjective there. It's delicious. It's crispy. It's spicy. It's whatever. Lots of different things. It's soft. It's crunchy. Whatever. Any kind of adjective. Another way to describe it is say it's a kind of something. So if I say, oh, would you like to try this? You say, what is that? And I said, it's called focaccia. You go, okay. And I can say, it's a kind of bread, or it's a kind of Italian bread. Okay? So you have this specific name for number one, like focaccia. And then a general category. It's a kind of bread. Okay? Or maybe it's similar to something. Maybe it's like, oh, what's that? It's called mantou. Eh? Is that a kind of bread? Maybe. If you're not sure, you could say it's like bread, or it's like a roll, or like a bun. Okay? Something it's similar to. And then we can, one, give it a name. Two, describe it. Maybe the kind of thing it is. And then three, add some more details. Tell more about that thing. Oh, it's made with blah, blah, blah. If you're talking about mantou, it's made with flour. And I think that's it. Flour and water. Okay? And then it tastes blah, blah, blah. You could put an adjective there. Or describe how it tastes. It tastes spicy. It tastes salty. Okay? And then you could describe how it's cooked. It's cooked in oil. It's cooked in water. It's cooked in a pot. It's cooked in a pan. All kinds of stuff like that. Okay? And so we're going to go through some examples, starting with this one. Now, I want you to try with me. Okay? So, this is a thing that you can get at a night market, right? This is one of the first things you see at Rauha Night Market. And give it a name. What can we call it? It's called, how do you say this in English? Is it black pepper pancake? No, you don't need to say that. We don't need to translate it. Give it a name. Just stick to the Chinese. That's okay. When you're speaking English, it's okay to use Chinese if there isn't really a good English name for it. It's called Hu Jiao Bing. So that's one choice, okay? You could say the Chinese name if you're not sure what the English name is. Why is that okay? Well, a lot of times when you were in school, your teachers said, no speaking Chinese, no Chinese. But in real life, it's okay, right? Because this is something from Taiwanese culture, and so there's not really a perfect English name for it. So you could tell someone, oh, it's called Hu Jiao Bing. The reason this is okay is because you're going to describe it later, okay? So, next you could also say, it's a kind of pork bun. Okay, so we're describing it, telling the person what is it actually. It's a kind of pork bun. And pork buns are foods that people eat in America sometimes. It's moved from Asia to America enough that a lot of people know it. Now, there is another name for this. Some people call it a pepper pork bun. But it's up to you. You don't have to use English for this thing. It's totally okay to use the name from the original language. And sometimes that's better. So we'll see examples later of that. So we have the name, Hu Jiao Bing. Describe it. What is it? It's a kind of pork bun. And then the person you're talking to is like, okay, I think I get it. But you can give more details to make it more interesting. So you can say, well, it's made with dough, green onion, and pork. So it's made with blah, 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 and describe what they use to make it. And then you could add more details. Say, oh, it tastes, oops, too many. Too quick. It tastes crispy on the outside and savory on the inside. So crispy on the outside and savory on the inside. Savory is a flavor, and we can talk about that in a minute. And then one more, you could say how it's cooked. It's cooked in a big barrel. It's really interesting to watch. Or it's really interesting to watch them cook it. So they stick their hands deep in a barrel and put these pork buns in there. So to describe food or pretty much anything, you can follow these 3 steps. Give it a name, describe it, and then add some interesting details. Okay? Now, if we want to describe it, we can talk about some flavors for the food. So just quick review. What are the different flavors that we can say? Well, first is sweet. Sweet like candy. What else do we have? Salty. Salty like crackers or chips. 3, bitter. Bitter like coffee or some chocolates, like dark chocolate. And, come on. Oh, sour. Sour like lemon and lime. Okay? And then one more that you might not be familiar with is, come on, these boxes are killing me. One you're maybe not familiar with is savory. Savory is that kind of flavor like meat or mushrooms or some soups and some vegetables. It just tastes really good and maybe makes you feel full. Okay? So usually we'll say savory. There's another name for this flavor, which maybe not everyone knows, but people who cook will know the word umami. So umami is a Japanese word. And this is another way to say savory. That kind of like meat flavor or mushroom flavor. And yeah, it's really super good. I think my favorite flavor is probably savory. And then spicy is another way to describe it. But technically, it's not really a flavor, but who cares? These 6 are the most important things and best ways to describe different foods, okay? And so let's practice using some of this stuff again. Next, you all know this food. Okay. Give it a name. What do we say? Okay? Well, you probably know the English name for this because it's pretty easy to translate, right? But, like I said before, it's okay to tell someone the Chinese name too, even if the person doesn't speak Chinese. Because food, you usually keep the original language. So, number 1, give it a name. You could say, it's called 牛肉面. And so you could keep the same Chinese word to tell them what it's called. Or you could use English if you know that and say it's called beef noodle soup. Right? I think everybody knows that one. This one's easy to translate. And then you could put these together to make it clear to someone that there are 2 ways to say it. You could say, oh, it's called 牛肉面 or beef noodle soup. The comma or is a really common way to show a different way to say something. Okay? And then number 2 is to describe it. So you can just say, this one's easy, right? It's noodle soup with big pieces of beef. And the person's like, well, duh, it's kind of obvious. Beef noodle soup, it's noodle soup with beef? Okay. Not super necessary. You don't really need this step because people will figure it out. And then 3, add some details. Oh, sorry. Another way to describe it. If you want to compare it to something, you could say, it's a little bit like Japanese ramen. Now, a little bit means a little bit. Not really like it, it's a little bit like it. So, sometimes, well, this one's not so hard to understand, but if you're describing something that's kind of unique, there's not much like it, you could use it's a little bit like blah, blah, blah. Okay? And then add some details. Ooh, grabbing the wrong thing. You could say, oh, it's really savory. There's that flavor we talked about. The flavor of meat and soup and vegetables and noodles. All of that savory. Ooh, it's really savory. It's really nice. Okay? And anything else? Oh, that's it for this one. Now, let's try another. What is this? Okay. Maybe you know an English way to say this, but the Chinese way is okay too. Or the Taiwanese way is okay too. So give it a name. You could say, it's called jian or oyster omelet. Now, you probably don't know how to write this. I had to look it up on Wikipedia to know how to spell it. And that's okay. Usually this is going to happen when you're speaking to someone, not writing a story. So you don't need to worry about the spelling. So, like I said, you can start with the name of it in your language and then an English way to say it. Oh, it's called jian or oyster omelet. Okay? And then 2, describe it. Well, it's kind of like an omelet with lots of oysters. Now, why do we say kind of? Well, if you say oyster omelet, an American will think of like an American brunch omelet, which looks very different than this. So that's why we use the word kind of. It's kind of like an omelet with lots of oysters. We have our name. We have a description. It's kind of like an omelet with lots of oysters. And then 3, add some details. Well, it comes with a thick, sticky sauce. So it's kind of like an omelet, but that's not it. It's not just egg and oysters. It has this sauce on top. And then you can describe the flavor, what you think it tastes like. I personally don't really like these. It's too sticky. But maybe you might say, oh, it's really savory, or it's a little bit spicy, it's a little bit sweet, or describe what you like about it. Okay? The next one. This is something that I really like to get. I get most times when I go to a night market. And what do we say? Well, there's the Chinese name, and then there's an English name. And so, it's good to give both. Okay? So 1, give it a name. Well, remember, there are many, so we start with they instead of it. They're called diguaqiu, or sweet potato balls. If you just say sweet potato balls, the person listening won't know exactly what that means. Maybe they just think it's steamed sweet potato that you scooped into a ball. I don't know. If you said sweet potato balls to me, I would think mashed sweet potato and then scoop it with an ice cream scoop, which that's not right. So you have to describe it, right? So Chinese name, English name, and then a description. They're balls of sweet potato that are fried. Oh, fried. Okay, now I get it. And so then the person can imagine what it's more like. And then give more details to explain a little bit more. They're hollow on the inside. Or often, usually, I think. And then you could give details of like how they do that. Well, he squishes it in the oil and it fills with air. But in general, you could do these 3. They're hollow on the inside. And another detail is they're a little bit sweet. Okay? And then what else can you do? Well, you can add plum powder too. So, a few different ways to describe it. Of course, there are many different ways to add details. You could say, oh, they're really, they're kind of chewy on the inside and crispy on the outside. They're a little bit sweet. They, yeah, whatever. Many different ways to say these ideas. Okay, so we have our sweet potato balls. How about something like this? Well, this one's easy, I think. 1, give it a name. What can you say? Well, it's called chou tofu or stinky tofu. So I think it's good for you to try to give the Chinese name also. just because, hey, if we're in Taiwan, that person should learn the name of it, or might enjoy learning the name of it. Especially like someone who doesn't speak any Chinese, it might be fun or exciting for them to learn a little bit, right? And so speaking English is all about making friends, right? And getting to know people. And so if you can make them feel happy and feel like they learned something, then they'll probably have a better time. Next, describe it. It's fermented tofu that can be grilled, fried, boiled, or steamed. So, the key word here is fermented. Maybe you don't know that. In Chinese, you say fa xiao. In English, we say fermented. And that can be used for a lot of things. In America, we usually use this word for wine or beer. To make wine or beer, you need to ferment it. Okay? So it's fermented tofu that can be grilled, fried, boiled, or steamed. And then add some details. It's really smelly, but people love the taste. And here, I have the word people because I myself don't care for it. Maybe you already know. You could change people to I if you really like it. So it's really smelly, but I love the taste. Or many people love the taste. Or most people in Taiwan love the taste. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. How about another one? Okay. Now, this is a little bit tricky, and this is why sometimes giving the name in Chinese can be a good thing. Because these two things, if you give it an English name, that doesn't really help because the English name might be the same. Okay? So number one, give it a name. Well, in Chinese, you can give the Chinese name and the English name. Well, it's called shinsuji or Taiwanese fried chicken. And so, like I've said before, it's okay to say the Chinese name because that's what it's called. If someone's in Taiwan and they're eating the snack, they want to know the real name of it. It's called shinsuji or Taiwanese fried chicken. Now, why do we want to give that Chinese name? Well, because Taiwanese fried chicken, looks like this too. So there two things can be called Taiwanese fried chicken. And then, same thing, describing it helps with this too. So it's called shinsuji or Taiwanese fried chicken. And then describe it. It's a kind of fried chicken that's cut into small pieces. Okay? So help the person imagine what it is. And then add some details. It's served with basil, garlic, and onions. You can see the basil on top of this one. Good. And then this one down here, if you just say Taiwanese fried chicken, the person might think they're the same. They're similar, but they're not the same. So you could say, oh, it's called ji pie. Like I said before, it's okay to say the Chinese. And then describe it. It's a kind of fried chicken that's served as one big piece. So this is showing you how to describe the things and show that they're different. Okay? And then, so the top one, it's a kind of fried chicken that's cut into small pieces. The bottom one, ji pie, it's a kind of fried chicken that's served as one big piece. Okay? So using this that phrase is a good way to help describe it. Okay? And then we don't need a lot of details here. You could add something like, oh, it's really big, it's really delicious, it's really juicy, whatever. Okay? But since both of these could be called Taiwanese fried chicken, I think it's helpful to say the Chinese name and give that description. And the person you're talking to will understand better if you describe it, right? Okay. Now, next thing, we are talking about Taiwanese food, of course, right? But this works for other languages too. So, if you're talking about food from a different culture, when we're speaking English, a lot of the time there aren't English names for those things. The English language loves taking words from other languages, especially for food.